He was invisible to most people, just a janitor cleaning floors while the city slept. But one night, inside the glass towers of New York, he saw something no one else noticed. A powerful CEO collapsed in front of him, her life hanging by a thread. What he did in that moment changed everything. Saving her life, exposing a secret worth millions, and uncovering a truth no one wanted to face. But why was the man who saved her suddenly treated like a criminal? This is not just about a stroke. It's about power, race, and the price of doing the right thing. For 15 years, Michael Carter had walked the same empty hallways, pushing his mop through the silence of Empire Tower long after the city went to sleep. To most people, he was just the janitor, a background figure in a suit-and-tie world that never looked his way. He kept his head down, worked the graveyard shift, and carried the quiet weight of loss. His late wife Angela, a neurology nurse who taught him more about the human body than any textbook ever could. At 3 a.m, while New York's skyline glowed in cold light, Michael's life looked simple, even invisible. He earned just enough to pay rent, took pride in keeping his floors spotless, and tried to live with dignity in a world that rarely gave men like him recognition. But that night, in the highest boardroom of the tower, something shattered the routine. A sound, a heavy thud against polished wood, echoed down the corridor. Michael's heart raced as he followed it. What he found wasn't just another mess to clean up. It was the most powerful woman in the building. The CEO herself, crumpled on the floor, her face twisted in pain. The kind of medical emergency Angela had always warned him about. And in that instant, Michael knew two things. He was the only one who could save her, and stepping into that role would change his life forever. Michael's quick thinking saved Evelyn Drake's life. He called 911 without hesitation, described every symptom in calm, precise detail, and even placed her in the safest position to reduce damage, just as Angela had taught him years before. By the time paramedics arrived, Evelyn's chances of survival had doubled because of him. They rushed her to the hospital, praising Michael for acting faster than most trained staff would have. But the next morning, when he returned to work, there was no praise. Instead, a folded note waited on his locker. The words were short, cold, and signed in red ink. Unauthorized access to executive areas. Final warning. Michael stared at it in disbelief. He had saved the CEO's life. Yet here he was being punished, not thanked. To the tower's executives, he wasn't a hero. He was a janitor who didn't belong upstairs. His chest tightened with anger, but a deeper ache gnawed at him. The feeling was familiar. He'd lived his whole life being told where he didn't belong. That night, the building felt different. Shadows stretched longer, the silence heavier. As Michael scrubbed the marble floors, he caught sight of Richard Hale, the head of security, whispering with Evelyn's doctor in a dim corner of the lobby. Their faces were tense, movements sharp, like men exchanging secrets no one should hear. Michael paused, mop in hand, but quickly turned away before they noticed. Soon, the puzzle pieces began falling into place. Evelyn, now recovering, confided her doubts. She whispered that her stroke didn't feel natural. Michael's heart sank when she showed him the bottles of pills she had been prescribed. Pills that Angela would have recognized in an instant. Not vitamins, not harmless supplements, something more sinister. And then came the moment that erased all doubt. Michael, moving through the vents during routine maintenance, overheard them, Hale and Dr. Collins. Their voices were low, but the words were unmistakable. They weren't treating Evelyn. They were poisoning her, little by little, timing her collapses with stock market moves that made them millions. Michael's blood ran cold. It wasn't just about Evelyn's health. It was about greed, power, and a plan so ruthless it could topple an empire. And he knew if he spoke out, no one would believe a janitor. Worse, the men behind this had the kind of power that could bury him without a trace. That night, he sought out the only person he trusted, Darius King, an HVAC technician with a soldier's instincts. Together, they devised a dangerous plan. Hidden microphones, cameras concealed in vents, and hours of surveillance that could prove what words alone never could. Each night, Michael risked his job, his safety, even his life, as he collected the truth piece by piece. Days turned into weeks and the evidence piled higher. 90 hours of recordings. Dozens of falsified medical charts. Over 300 suspicious stock transactions. The conspiracy was no longer a suspicion, it was undeniable. But just as Michael prepared to bring the truth forward, Hale's men started watching him. Extra security checks. Silent stares that lingered too long. And one night, as Michael reached for his mop, he found something chilling taped inside his cart. "Stay quiet, or you'll be next." The evidence was airtight. Michael and Darius had enough proof to bring down the entire conspiracy. But the closer they got to the truth, the more dangerous it became. And then came the night that would define everything. During a board meeting, Evelyn sat at the head of the table, pale but recovering. Michael slipped a folded note onto her folder as he passed by. Just 4 words. "Your vitamins aren't vitamins." She glanced at him, eyes widening, and for the first time, the powerful CEO looked genuinely afraid. Minutes later, Richard Hale stormed into the room, his presence sharp as broken glass. His eyes scanned the boardroom, then locked on Michael. In that instant, the janitor wasn't invisible anymore, he was a threat. Hale's voice cut like a blade. "What is he doing here?" Security moved in, 2 men gripping Michael's arms. He tried to speak, but they silenced him, dragging him into the hallway as if he were a criminal. The irony burned. He had saved Evelyn's life, risked everything for the truth, and yet here he was, treated like trash for daring to step above his station. Fear surged through him, but so did rage. This wasn't just about him. It was about every time his skin color and his uniform had made him less than human in the eyes of power. If they buried him now, they would bury the truth forever. Just as the guards tightened their grip, a voice shattered the silence. "Evelyn." She held the bottle of pills high above the boardroom table. "Test them," she demanded. The room froze. Hale's mask cracked, sweat beading at his temple. And in that tense silence, Michael realized the walls of power were starting to crumble. He had dragged the truth into the light. But the question remained, would the system finally see him as a hero, or crush him for daring to expose it? The truth could not be hidden anymore. When Evelyn ordered the pills tested, the results exposed everything. Richard Hale and Dr. Collins had been orchestrating a slow poisoning, their scheme worth over $200 million in fraudulent stock trades. Within days, FBI agents swarmed Empire Tower. Hale was led out in handcuffs, the very halls he once ruled echoing with the weight of his downfall. Dr. Collins lost his license, his career, and his freedom. And Michael, the man they once ignored, the man they tried to silence, stood at the center of it all. For the first time, the world saw him, not as just a janitor, not as the invisible black worker in the background, but as the man who saved a life and exposed a conspiracy. Evelyn Drake promoted him to Director of Corporate Safety and Integrity. His salary multiplied overnight. In honor of his late wife Angela, she launched a scholarship fund to support students from backgrounds like his. But beyond the headlines and promotions, the impact ran deeper. Michael's story became more than a corporate scandal. It became a reminder of how often people of color are overlooked, dismissed, or punished even when they do the right thing. He had saved a life, yet his first reward was suspicion. He had exposed corruption, yet his first response was intimidation. His journey proved that courage can break through injustice, but it also exposed just how heavy the cost can be. And so the question remains, how many heroes like Michael are still being silenced, still being punished, simply because of who they are? How many truths are left buried because society refuses to see the people holding them? This was Michael's story, but it could be anyone's. The question is, will we keep ignoring it or finally start listening? What do you think? Was Michael's fight for justice a rare victory, or just one glimpse into a much bigger problem? If the story moved you, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next one.